back in here to another episode here on the Speedboat channel. All right, first video here we're gonna do about my white 959 2018. So let me tell you about a few things that I hate about this one too. So let's hear it. Let's get right to it. So first off, let me just fight for first and foremost thing. I don't hate it that much because I bought it. All right, so I don't hate it that much, but let's move on forward. Let me tell you about a few things that I dislike about this motorcycle. All right, the first thing that I dislike about this motorcycle is these seats. And again, I touched base on this the same as my V4 over there. The seat just sucks. Again, I understand this is seemed to be a more mild style track bike than my V4 over there. However, it is still a little bit more street manageable because the one thing that I do love about riding this bike over this bike over here is that the fact that this one just seems a lot more flickable and throwing it into the corners, and it's just feeling lighter, and you don't always have to have all that power, you know, all the time. I feel like riding around on the street, this is like the perfect amount of power that you need just for riding on the street. It's fast enough to where you need to get to go, and it's still now slouch, and it's not slow. But I feel like this thing is just so fast, and this thing is so fast that as soon as you really get into the power band, you have to slam on your brakes because you're going to be on somebody's ass before you know it, or in the back of their, you know, car window or something, because you're going to crash into them. Not by, like I said, by all means, this isn't slow. This thing I'm sure will do a 10-second quarter mile, but there's a big difference if you can do 11.0 or 1090 versus, you know, 10.0, and I've been well into the nines with this one many times. So the one thing that I just don't like about this bike riding so much is definitely the seats, because riding around, I feel like I want to be a little bit more relaxed, you know, on this bike. But just the seat, man, it's just so stiff, and there's just not a lot of cushion or anything like that. But riding individuals on the back of this bike is definitely much more fun than riding on that bike and kind of this bike, but the seats are much better on that one. So the seat, in my opinion, just sucks on this bike, but hey, it must be just a Panigale thing. It's no big deal. We can get the comfort seats or anything like that, but if I wanted to be comfortable, I ride my Groms and my other two bikes. Second thing I dislike about this bike the most is the heat. And this is the Crotch Rocket V-Twin. So if you're cruising in traffic or anything like that, if you're cruising around not in traffic, then you're all right. The heat will leave, you know, the vents here, the radiator, and the heat will leave under your ass here. And it's really not that bad, as long as you're moving. But when you're sitting in traffic, just like the 1199s and the 1299s, because they're worse on that bike, you know, they're bigger motors, they create more heat. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it boils my freaking chops between my legs, and I just don't like it. I prefer to stay moving, and I hate to say it because that's another reason why I don't ride this bike just as much as that bike over there, because it's just so damn hot during traffic. It just makes it unenjoyable. But let me tell you, hot damn it, she looks just as good in that pearl white. Another thing I'll mention, the pearl white paint. Again, some things that sucks about this. This is really not the third one, but another thing that sucks about this bike, when you touch the pearl white, just like on my Hyper Motard, it leaves fingerprints, and people, again, come up and say, oh, your paint is so nice and stuff like that, but, you know, you don't know what's on these people's hands. My hands may be clean, but, you know, who knows what they just touched. They could have had their fingers in the sewer or something, and then they come over and touch your white bike, and you're like, get the hell off of here. You know, what the hell is wrong with you? But that's just people. Third thing I dislike about this bike the most is the mirrors, because they're fixed, just like they were on my V4. So as they're fixed to the front fairing, so as the bike vibrates, they tend to vibrate a lot in here. So you can only move them within here. And if you're going slow or you're under acceleration and the bike's creating timing, they vibrate a lot because it's a V-twin. It's not as smooth as an inline 4. It just kind of makes it a bitch to see out of them when you're going slow. Number 5, the thing that I never really cared for, and I'm very happy they changed this on the V4, because it's like this on the 11s and the 12s. This spring for the rear swing arm with the spring and strut assembly. Now, I think it looks badass. Don't get me wrong, it does look badass. However, when you're tucked into this thing, I just don't like the feeling of my leg being there and it's rubbing on the cover here. I just never cared for it. I think it looks dope, and I think it's a killer design, but functionality wise, it never did it for me. You know, some people love it, some people hate it. You know, I'm a guy that doesn't, you know, so much care for it, but some people love it, some people hate it. You know, the bike is perfect, again, in its own way. It does everything pretty good. And then let me finish it off by the thing that I really hate about it the most is the fact that you already know I had to pay for it. And it's not that big of a deal, because if I didn't want it, I would have never bought it. So I hope this video has been informative to you. If you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Instagram, The Speedbug, same name here as YouTube. And we'll see you here for another review and another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Deuces.